That's no moon. It's Rebel Moon. Hello there. I will be your host in this dark cabal, joined by Brother Samael and Brother Dan. Welcome to the first ever Cultist cast.
I'm still not entirely sure what the difference is between Cultist Cast and the normal podcast again.
This is going to be a completely different thing. I may not even always host it. I may give it to other Zack Snyder fans at some point.
Ah,
And this is just going to specifically be something that focuses on the filmography, charity work, and fandom around Zack Snyder. Some positivity in a world of negativity. What better way to do that than to kick it off talking about this new Gamescom Germany 2023 Rebel Moon trailer, with a quick plug saying that I do have a book coming out about all of the stuff surrounding the fragmenting of DC, the journey of Zack Snyder from 300 or Dawn of the Dead 300 all the way through DC and now Rebel Moon and hopefully Horse Latitudes.
The entire DCEU fiasco is
Yeah.
insanity.
Well, it's just worth noting, the first chapter I ever did research for, I found out that the Oscar claims of Snyder bots existing was in fact fabricated. That professor in Maryland had never researched the Oscars or Zack Snyder fans at all. He had been doing research on Tesla stock manipulations by bots on Twitter in 2006 to 2010. Completely different. The quotes attributed to him never happened, and Humberto Gonzalez didn't just get the report wrong, he lied about it. And at that point I was like, yeah, I'm making this whole book. This rabbit hole goes much deeper than I thought. It's not just bad reporting.
I'm actually excited to read it because it sounds insane.
I genuinely, I all the time am referencing like other things you can verify that this happened. Like, there's this article, you can read that. Here's this official statement. Because if I don't, I wouldn't believe it. And I'm the type of person that would want to believe that everything was a frame job. So if I'm trepidatious, I imagine people who hate Zack Snyder will be more so. Anyway, that's enough about that. Rebel Moon, we just watched the trailer, which is... It was called a teaser trailer, but it's like 3 minutes. That's a long teaser. Well, I guess it's like the Snyder cut of a teaser trailer.
well, I had been following Zack Snyder on the app thing that I keep forgetting the name of.
Vero?
Vero, that's it. My brain keeps going, Vimeo. And I'm like, that's something else. But, yeah, I've been following on that and seeing, like, set designs for, like, oh, this is what a ship will look like. And it's all very... World War II, Vietnam era, where it's like riveted metal and stuff like
It's
that.
Warhammery.
Yeah, it's, well...
Diesel punk is how I would describe it specifically, because Warhammer didn't invent that.
Yeah, well, I would say that Warhammer, saying Warhammer, you're picturing stained glass and like...
There is stained glass in that trailer. Like, there's actual stained glass cathedral.
That wasn't my thought with those things, because he's not showing like stained glass stuff. He was showing like, here's the ship that looks like a helicopter that like had been crashed and then just converted into this thing. Like, you looked at it and you're like, I recognize aspects of that and that seems real, but then you've connected it to something that I know is not real, but I'm able to bridge the gap between real and fiction in sort of a nice cohesive way. They do tricks to make you understand it, and that's kind of what that movie did. Plus the set design for it was like the World War I trench sort of design that was gone into it.
There was even some World War I style, I don't know what they're called, but the helmets that are like, they look almost just like a metal pan on your head, but then it has like almost like a permanent wide brim around it.
Yeah, the Jay Garrick hat.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. There were people wearing that fighting the Imperium in the Rebel Moon trailer. It's sort of a blink and you miss it thing. But going to the swords that you guys had brought up, I think it's really fascinating because I know a lot of directors who, if they had pitched something as like an Old Republic movie to Disney or Lucasfilm, whichever one it was at the time, I don't remember. And they'd been like, oh, well, we're actually about to make it super family friendly and also erase all of the black characters from our international posters. Oops, yeah, that happened.
Yeah, I remember that.
So already Ray Fisher's Blood Axe is probably going to be more prominent than Finn was in the Disney trilogy, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately, because I love that, but I wish that John Boyega had had more time. But about the swords, I know a lot of people who they would worry about being compared to Star Wars. And Zach doesn't appear to be worried because it's so different. He has like a John Carter or a Conan the Barbarian type that can ride griffins. He's gone in a completely different diesel punk, far less technologically advanced universe, and the swords aren't aren't a flashlight that emits a laser. They are metal swords that you,
Like
at least
superheat.
in the case of Nemesis, which is the character you see fighting the giant spider, which to me immediately made me think of Shelob, but spookier. Sort of the in-between of
It did
the,
make me
the
happy
video
to
game
see, like,
version.
because in Star Wars, you don't see alien characters playing significant roles. Often.
Unfortunately. Like Chewbacca's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Or Yoda.
So seeing that many significant potential for like significant players, at least in a fight scene, if not more,
Yeah.
for like alien.
I mean, the
characters.
Gladiator Pit had a big forearms Ben 10 looking character.
So yeah, I'm really excited about to see. Cause I
Zack
think,
Snyder's Ben 10 would be
oh man, the world's
on
not
another
ready
level.
for that.
No, they are not.
Look,
Zack Snyder's Ben 10,000 would kick all of the ass.
Maybe have like mythological references to like Typhon or something.
Benjamin, you bonehead. I'm not a bonehead. I'm a diamond head. Anyway, the swords, they're superheated in the case of Nemesis. It's a thing where you chop off a hand and that becomes and superheats it. It looks like after her whole village is burned down, she chops both of her arms off to get the robot hands. I don't know if normally you do two, but she did.
Which pretty cool lore thing to make it given Star Wars' reputation for making cutting off hands a significant.
Yeah, except in this time, like, no, I'm doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
I'm upgrading. I
Giving
kind of,
it
it makes me
purpose.
wonder if it's going to be a thematic thing of like, you no longer can feel the like touch of another
Mhm.
person. You've given yourself to vengeance. So
Wasn't
maybe
it-
normally it's one hand is for war, one hand is still human. But she's like, no, I lost my family. I'm
Wasn't
here to kill.
it Guillermo that had a
yeah,
similar
he was
concept?
going to do the. It was like the Count of Monte Cristo, and he was going to do his twist on it was going to be that the character was going to lose his hand in the beginning, like during the whole being kicked out, and he was going to have a prosthetic made that was a gun, and it's sort of bringing up the fact that you've dedicated yourself to vengeance. You've basically taken a thing that had potential, and now you've just given it strictly to killing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was going to be a thing like, yeah, you got your vengeance, but you still have this gun hand now
Yeah.
that you can't grab. You
And her
can't.
name is Nemesis. That's rad.
It's a great name.
I like the, like you were saying in the introduction, the plasma effect around it, where like as she moves it, there's like shades of blue in the red and stuff because it's super heated, and so it's. I feel like that's visually and lore wise distinct enough that you can be like, oh, it's a lightsaber. I mean, people will because people are stupid,
Well, yeah.
but
Plus, these days you can't look. You can't do any blade with light and not have people call it a lightsaber.
even Sting in the Hobbit trilogy and Lord of the Rings and all that, which those books predate Star Wars by like 50 years. People are like, oh, it's a lightsaber? Like, no, George Lucas didn't invent most of the things. He just did Flash Gordon and Dune, but twisted a little
Which
bit.
with samurai, but that was kind of a point that I wanted to bring up is that Rebel Moon does not appear like it's pulling samurai. It seems like it's going more King Arthur.
Oh, yeah, very King Arthur.
Yeah,
in
well,
fact,
like
he
the-
said that Anthony Hopkins' Jimmy is the Lancelot of the group,
Huh.
which I
That
wonder if
has-
that means that he's
that could
going to
have
fall in
many
love with
different-
someone.
Oh no, he became Cogman.
Exactly.
Oh,
By the way, you guys I don't think have seen 300, which
No.
we should rectify. I've seen both. I own both. They both rule. I know some people don't like the other one because Zach didn't direct it. I think it still rules pretty hard.
but you're saying that this thing that on the cult cast.
I
is-
know. I'm the Archbishop of the cultist 3rd Division. Hallowed be thy name, first of my own. See, it's the opposite of gatekeeping. I don't lock people out of my love and passion. I invite them in, and I lock the door behind them, and I hold them hostage until they love what I love.
That's still gatekeeping. You're just on the other side of the gate.
It's Stockholm Syndrome, actually. But in 300, Delios, who is Faramir, the brother of Boromir in Lord of the Rings, but he's jacked because it's 300, he gets wounded over one of his eyes. Like, I can still see, my king. And he's like, no, you're an incredible storyteller. Go back, tell our story. Tell the rest of Greece to come avenge us, because we know we're boned. Quasimodo betrayed us. So he goes off, and the entirety of the story of 300 is told. That's why there's like monstrous Persians and stuff. They weren't really monstrous Persians. That's just him being like, and there was definitely a big monster, and he came at us, and
Which also people being like, it's not historically accurate. It's like,
neither
it's
is the
not-
graphic novel.
Yeah, it's adapting a graphic novel.
Which is itself propaganda from a soldier of the Spartan army.
Like, it's by no standard meant to be. Like, if you're gonna get onto that, you kind of have to get onto Assassin's Creed as well.
Oh, I love it. Zack Snyder's Assassin's Creed. Zack Assassin's Creed. Oh, By the way, 2 Michael Fassbender movies, Assassin's Creed 300. He has no body fat in that movie. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is narrating from the perspective of Jimmy feels like he's the Delios of the Rebel Moon. Like the Rebel Moon trilogy could just be like him recounting the story to whatever generation he's talking to now. Also, people looked at some of the iconography because the Rebel Moon shirts and stuff leaked on Amazon a week ahead of time. And there's a symbol, and it's a wolf and a fox chasing each other in a yin yang symbol. People were like, "What's that about?" It, from what I've seen, some people online have been like, "Oh, what if the princess that was supposed to bring peace in the trailer actually, because like her father died or whatever, brings war instead?" And Korra, the Scar Giver, a child of war, a child born in fire, potentially the child of fire herself. What if she's the one who defeats the Imperium and brings peace? So they're the yin yang of one another, where they were both born in one area, moved in the opposite, and that's the actual, like, that's the big bad for her, is the princess, potentially.
I was just assuming that it was going to be a Fox and the Hound reference.
Like, what if Princess Leia was the villain? But yeah, and you said the Griffin, right? You were kind of shocked by the Griffins?
I was not shocked. I was wildly confused.
What's an alien planet? They're Griffins.
That does not... It's like, oh, it's an alien planet. There's a unicorn. Like,
normally the line between fantasy and sci-fi is
Miko,
pretty
don't you drop
strong.
that bone.
well, it's not an alien griffin. It's just a griffin.
That's
How many Earth Griffins have you seen? It's not based on anything that pre-exists. It can't be wrong. I'm just saying, a bird that is also like a lion or a bear sounds like a pretty scary combination.
not
Yeah, it does. But why is it doing on an alien planet or moon?
Well, I'm sure we'll find out.
Also, I feel like the Griffin in most fantasy settings has had a pretty regal sense attached to it.
Well, did you notice that when Jimmy is like, a king who I have memories of like a world I'll never see, like a king I could not save or a king I could not serve, and then it shows these people walking with a white regal griffin behind them, and they have like feathers and stuff in their stuff,
so maybe
and the
they're
king
meant
is
to be
covered in
kind
that.
of symbolic of an older era.
They could have come from like mythical Earth, or they could have been genetically engineered
I'm
based on
okay
myth.
with the idea of like griffins like, oh no, they've just been around for so long, everything else is different, they just haven't changed. Because then it at least acknowledges the fact that they do not look like seeing a spaceship landing and then a griffin just being like, ah.
It's so fucking cool.
It is. I'm
But
not
it's
cool trade on it.
it's the juxtaposition is there.
Yeah. So this reminds me of a quote. I actually did want to bring it up. It's not by Zack Snyder. It's by Quentin Tarantino, who you may remember said that he thought the Snyder Cut was groovy.
No, I didn't remember that. Though I also remember he was at the Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
Yeah, he's a connoisseur of the arts. So, I've seen people be like, "Oh, there's slow motion. Oh, it's like there's all these Zack Snyderisms in this Zack Snyder movie," and it made me think of this quote by Quentin Tarantino. When talking about Kill Bill, he says, "Sure, Kill Bill is a violent movie, but it's a Tarantino movie. You don't go see Metallica and ask the f***ers to turn the music down." Um, yeah, so this has been the first Cultist cast. I'm excited for the game. I'm excited for the movies. I'm excited for the
all of it.
novelization and the comic books that are coming out.
Novelization. Oh, that's gonna be nuts.
And-
I get to write the novelization.
I really hope
I'll look
that-
her up because I started following her on
I-
on X.
I really want the like novelization to be like during an action scene, whenever it's like fast forward and then slow mo. Like fast forward, there's no spaces between the words, and then slow mo, it's just like really stretched out like a million
Like
O's.
V. Castro. Let me see. Author is V. Castro. This chick has a straight up gangster lineup of book titles.
Promising.
Damn. Also, those earrings are rad.
Oh.
That's sick as hell. Anyway,
It says something that I was like, wow, her hair has such volume to it.
no, she does a really good volume here. Yeah, true. So yeah, the book, the comic book, the action figures, the shirt.
I always think it's interesting when something, because I read the novelization of the John Carter movie. It's always interesting when a high action movie.
So wait, you just read the original book?
No, I read the John Carter novelization and then Princess of Mars. So the book came with both.
By the way, that movie was intentionally set up to fail because Bob Iger didn't want George Lucas to have any reason to be like, well, you don't need Star Wars because you already have John Carter of
Which
Mars.
is a shame.
So he intentionally changed it from having a cool name to just being John Carter that no one would understand. and then had no of you look, there's no toys, there's nothing that came out for it. It was set up to bomb
I
intentionally.
feel sorry for anyone who saw that movie and was like, "This is my thing now."
I was that in high school. That was me.
Oh,
Dude,
I
if
feel
he
sorry for you.
I was like Willem Dafoe and Thomas Hayden Church. Hello. So I'm excited for the shirts, the action figures, the comic books, the novelization, the sequels, the video game, the tabletop RPG that we're just gonna make of. It's very Thanos.
the
Fine, I'll do it
tattoo you're
myself.
inevitably going to get.
Oh, dude, that you don't even understand. The logos I showed brother Samael
It'll
the other day.
You're just gonna get
those
like a
shirt
wolf and
logos?
fox on your calf or something.
Well, I want to make sure to know the context. You don't want to get like this is so cool, and then you find out it's like the fascists.
Mm.
Because it was the same thing where it's like, can you imagine someone who saw Batman versus Superman was coming out and they got the Bat logo like on them, and then they find out the Bat brand means you're a rapist, and like, no, oh God, like that's got to be rough.
Yeah.
Also, the color grading in this Rebel Moon looks fucking awesome, dude. It is like it's like super saturated coolness, but it's also like not washed. Like the shadows still have like depth to them. It's so good, and like the lightsaber fights that aren't lightsabers are just like
We need to learn what they're actually called. So we
the
can-
plasma sword battle with Harmata, which by the way, calling the spider monster that steals children in the night because she lost her own Harmata after Walter Hamada wouldn't pause Justice League so Zack could go to his daughter's funeral. By the way, in my book, I talk about the reason they didn't pause it is because it would then delay the release, and then it wouldn't be part of the next quarterly bonuses for the executives. However, they did pause the filming of the Suicide Squad because James Gunn's dog had died. So they care more about James Gunn's dog than they did about Zack Snyder's daughter. So I think he's completely valid in making a character that is just "F you. Here's Jenna Malone from Sucker Punch. She's a monster that steals children."
Oh, Sucker Punch.
Well, she's not the main character. She's one of the characters. In it. She's also the one who helps Lois find where the bullet came from in the Ultimate Edition. God, the Ultimate Edition. I walked out of the Batman vs Superman in 2016 being like, Superman doesn't have bullet vision. How was he framed for Africa? That stupid movie. That's the Ultimate Edition. I'm like, oh, because KG Beast has a flamethrower keyed to make scorch marks like his heat vision, and the bullets were specifically made to melt underneath that, so it looked like he came in and just scorched everyone. It was a frame job.
And then-
Oh, this actually makes sense.
And Lois Lane, the only reason she had one of those bullets because it got put in her book.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whole thing. It's a
good.
conspiracy.
She even goes to. I'm not gonna get in.
It's a conspiracy about discovering the fact that there was a conspiracy.
Yeah.
We'll talk about how like Lois's journey of investigation in the Ultimate Edition as it's just a specific topic in a future cultist cast. But this has been the cultist cast.
I think
Blessings
we-
upon ye.
I think we covered that. There's a lot to cover.
Yeah, it's dense. There's so many layers. Like the fact that Bruce Wayne has a line of there's even a 1% possibility, which is based on the 1% doctrine, which is the right in post 9/11 fear mongering to invade and kill on the 1% chance that they may be terrorists. The NSA should be able to listen in on everything you do on the 1% chance that you could be a terrorist. The 1% doctrine.
Well, that like surveillance state movies, like
Wait. Yeah, and in that version, Bruce Wayne represents the abusive fear mongering, xenophobia that Ben Affleck in real life fought against after 9/11.
he would have been the person making Shia LaBeouf do all that stuff in Eagle Eye.
So like there's so many layers, right?
Jerry.
Like there's so
Jump
many
now.
layers to every single like we could talk about one scene for like an hour, and we likely will in the future because that's what the cultist cast is all about. It's
And those
positivity.
tangents that get cut out.
And that'll be in the Snyder cuts where you can listen to our tangents.
Where it'll be like, that scene, Zack Snyder, reminds me a lot of this thing from Spy Kids that bothered me.
I'm just going to take you to Spy Kids therapy. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. Blessings upon your household. May a fruitfulness follow the bounty of your soul and your family. And may the Lord Snyder bless thee
Maybe we
with
should
abs. Rebel Moon. Moons.